Hello friend, this is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and for this Reseller Friday, I want to talk to you about avoiding the so-called burnout. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you know I don't really believe in burnout. Obviously, people they can go dig a ditch for 16 hours a day and I guess burn out physically. But more often I hear this term burnout with people who are not doing a whole lot. People who are just doing a little bit above average. And the tragic thing is, it's pretty pitiful. But I'm going to answer some questions I was asked. I was asked about, okay, this couple over here, they were famous resellers on social media. They chronicled their moving up and scaling up. They got a big warehouse, they did all this, and then the business failed miserably and they quit and went to work day jobs or whatever. And then, oh, this reseller over here, they sold their eBay business. They quit because they're going doing something else. Listen, this happens all the time. There are a lot more resellers on social media documenting all their actions or inactions. So it seems like there's some, oh, these people are leaving reselling for good. Is reselling over? All this nonsense. Oh, they must be getting burned out. And some of them were talking about being burned out. It was just so hard on them. And listen, I have compassion on people. I understand if their capacity level is maybe a little bit lower than higher performing people. But I also understand that so many people, and I've seen this time and time again, I've had people tell me they're burned out, and I asked them to document what they did each and every day, write it down, and you find out they're wasting vast majority of their time on social media, playing video games, watching sports, doing all this useless stuff, and yet they're feeling burned out. And I tell them to do the opposite. They're thinking they need to do less. I'm telling them, no, you need to do more. And cut out all those fruitless endeavors, because here's the thing that many people don't understand. When you live in an active life where you're just living for entertainment, it crushes your soul. You are not created to be useless. You are not created to be a mere consumer in this world. You are meant to be a creator, created in the image and likeness of God, and you should be out there actively doing things, adding value to the world. You will feel less, you will feel worse about yourself when you are not doing your all. And very often times, many people's feeling of burnout is really them feeling anxiety and fretting over not getting enough of their entertainment in the day. So they feel like they're missing out on all this nonsense, and they feel like they're not getting to live their lives, as if living life is about just being entertained. Now, it's certainly possible that people can build up too quickly, not learn lessons that they should be learning, and blow up their reselling business. That happens all the time, especially with newer resellers. They think it's just easy money, free money, but they don't put the work in to learn and improve and excel in their business. They just do the bare minimum and then kind of coast along. Maybe they do more hours, but they haven't improved the processes. I'd much rather you work an 8-hour day and get way more done than work a 16-hour day and do less. The mere time going by on the clock is not the measurement tool here. The actual productivity is. And if you can get AI or hire employees and get them to do the work and double up your efforts, that's great. So my first point I want to make about burnout as a reseller is make sure you're doing all your processes as efficiently as possible. Yes, if you're going in day out doing things the worst possible way, the slowest possible way, that can get pretty frustrating pretty quickly. So examine yourself. Listen, I recorded videos of myself years ago. Okay, here's me taking pictures of an item. Now you may think, well, why does that matter? When you look at yourself, because you're seeing a different picture when you're doing it. But when you actually just visually watch yourself do it, see, why did I do that? Why did I put the camera down there? Why didn't I just hold on to it? And you look at all these extra steps you're doing and adding in that is taking more time, you can improve that process real quickly. Another thing is, as far as pictures go and just listing in general, make sure that you've really considered whether you should be buying an item in the first place. There are items I pass each and every day that could make some money, but the amount of work it'll take to get them to a presentable condition to resell does not make them worth buying. My time is more valuable than wasting it on that item. And I also know that getting those kind of items, and you got a bunch of other items to list anyway, those items are more likely to get put aside. And then not only do you not have it listed, you still got to prep it and do all this work to it. And you end up just getting a pile. So what happens to so many people? They get quote unquote death piles. They got stuff, well, I need to clean those shoes, and I need to sew a button on over here, and I need to test those DVDs, and I need to test this Blu-ray player. It's just, if you're not going to do it immediately, and my rule for myself, there's a couple caveats to it, but the basic rule is that everything I get, I list within 24 hours. Now, obviously, if I get a truckload of stuff, I can't list that in 24 hours. If I go out sourcing myself, and I go to 10 stores, my car's filled to the brim, I can't list all that in 24 hours, most likely. I might be able to, but I'm not holding myself to that on big, huge sourcing days. And then the other caveat would be things that do need repair. I get an expensive electronic item and it needs a new belt. That may not get listed in 24 hours because I have specific days that I do that kind of stuff. Set yourself some sort of rule. Because one of the things I found out with so many people that claim burnout is they have death piles. Their house is filled with inventory that's not listed. They're not getting things done. They have a lot of activity in the business, but not a whole lot of productivity. And so one of the first things you can do is stop buying stuff that you know you're not going to list immediately. If you know, you got to be honest with yourself. You can't lie to yourself and go, oh, I'll get it listed. Be honest with yourself. If you have a pile of VCRs over in the corner that you haven't listed yet because you got to test them, don't go buy another VCR. I don't care how much money you can sell for. Unless you're going to start today and actually do it and start listing that new item you're getting today. But if you're just going to stack it over in the corner of the rest of the stuff that's not listed, you're not benefiting yourself. First thing, your capital is being tied up in items that aren't even listed. It's bad enough if an item doesn't sell once it's listed, but it's 100 times worse when it's not even listed. So your capital is just tied up, wasting away in items. Now, some things like that, some of those items go up in value, so it doesn't matter necessarily as far as the monetary aspect of it, but just get there and do it. Stop putting things off. Stop delaying, and stop buying more inventory to add to a pile of stuff you haven't listed. So get yourself a good rule in place, whatever it is for you. I'm going to list everything I get within a week. Whatever, it doesn't matter. My rule is within 24 hours because I don't like to put things off. And I'll give you a little secret here that many people have never thought about. But if you look up an item in the store and you're going to buy it to list, why not create the listing while you're doing that? If you're waiting in line to check out, create the listing. Get it started. I'm not talking about taking pictures at the store, but you can do that. For some electronic items, I will literally test them in the store, take a video of it working, take pictures of it turned on. So now all I got to do is just clean it a little bit, take some more pictures of it all around, and list it. Why test it twice? Why test it in the store and then go to your office or your home or wherever and test it again because you got to get pictures of showing it working and a video showing it working or whatever. So don't add extra processes where you don't need them. Don't add doing the same thing twice if you can do it only once. Because as I stated, I'm convinced that most of the supposed burnout in the reselling community is from people who are doing processes way less effectively and efficiently than they could, and they're always looking to, well, I could be watching a sporting event, or I could be doing this. They still have that underlying consumer entertainment needing mentality that caused them to feel like they're missing out while they're doing their work. So instead of being focused and diligent in their endeavors, they're thinking they're missing out, which will lower your vibration, make you feel worse about things, and might cause you to feel quote unquote burnout. But the first step to cure it is to not be doing things that you shouldn't be doing, not be wasting time, not be buying more inventory that you're not going to list, Make sure your processes are seamless. There's no problems. There's no faults with them. There's no extra effort that's being done. And I would add that this is going to be hard for some people because one of the reasons many people get into reselling is they don't want a boss, which is understandable, but also because they like the freedom that it brings to have their own schedule. They don't have to work 9 to 5 anymore. Now they can just work whenever. The problem is when you do that, you generally don't get as much work done as you should, and you're oftentimes wasting it just piddling away, not doing everything you could be doing. I would encourage you to schedule your day like a real business. Like if you're going to work for somebody else, you wouldn't just show up whenever. You wouldn't just leave whenever. You'd have a schedule that you need to follow. You would have certain tasks you need to do at certain times a day. You wouldn't take lunch whenever you wanted. You would take lunch whenever it was scheduled. So while this may seem constricting, it may seem like it's putting you back in that old working a job mentality, it's the exact opposite. It's something you have to do if you're going to be at your ultimate success that you can possibly be and increase your capacity for success. You need a good schedule, properly planned out. Now, mine is a little more detailed than most people need because you could just, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., I'm listing items. I have some things scheduled down to every 5 minutes in many cases because my schedule is just that detailed because I need to know exactly what I'll be doing at what exact time. Are there exceptions that come up? Of course. And I make allowances for that. But you'd be amazed how much more you can get done and how good you'll feel about it, not burned out, if you're just following a schedule and you know exactly what the next thing you'll be doing is because you planned it out, you've thought it out the night before or the week before, whatever it is. I like to do mine the night before. It's very simple because something might have changed today. If I had a weekly schedule, maybe something changed today that I need to do something a little different. So I can always have my schedule a little different if I need it. And as things come up through the day, it's no big deal. There's no stress. There's no pressure. If my schedule gets rearranged, who cares? It's not a big deal. I'm still going to get the things done that I need to get done that day. I'm not going to shrink back. I'm not going to go scrolling social media or getting some entertainment or do anything like that. I'm going to do the things I need to do. Don't let the devil rob you of the blessing you have right before you. Being a reseller is a great thing. It is such a great opportunity for so many people. It's one of the reasons I talk about. I could be talking about high finance and buying businesses and selling businesses and all this stuff. But the reason I talk about reselling, in particular, I make specific videos about reselling every Friday because it is one of the easiest things for people to get into. It's one of the easiest things for people to do. Obviously, you can scale up and get very difficult and become very big. But for the average person, just getting into it and getting started, it has the lowest barrier to entry. It is super easy to get started. Don't let this opportunity fall by the wayside. Don't be one of these people that is going on to some new profession because they've given up on reselling because they weren't managing their day very well and they were wasting a lot of time and they were buying into mythology of the world. There's very few people who are going to be talking about work-life balance that are people you really want to listen to because most of them are not successful. And some successful people say it, but I'm going to give you something that's going to be it's going to sound cynical, but it's not. Sometimes people that are successful tell you things like work-life balance, tell you things like do what you love because they're trying to sabotage you. They don't want competition on their level. They want people in the gutter doing the work for them instead of rising up and maybe surpassing them. Now, obviously, that's not all successful people, but some do that on purpose. Now, some say those things just because they are unconsciously competent, meaning they don't understand how they're competent. So they hear these little phrases, they sound good to them, and they repeat them, and it's not even what they did in the first place. They did the exact opposite of those things, and they're telling people to do something different, not to sabotage them, but just because they haven't really considered what they actually did that led to their success. So my friend, don't be discouraged. Don't let somebody who you respected was reselling and they chronicled their journey and they failed miserably. Don't let that discourage you. I don't think those people are putting videos out trying to discourage people. I think they're just trying to make some ad revenue, making their video that will get people shocked or get some attention. You know, that's just how things are on social media. But don't let that kind of nonsense discourage you. Somebody else failing does not have anything to do with you. Matter of fact, you can just learn lessons from what they did wrong. Did they scale up too quickly? Did they try to get fancy? I knew somebody who was very successful. I'm going to leave you with this. And they always would brag about how they just worked out of their home. Great. And then one day, they were showing off their new offices, their new desk, their new chairs, and all this. It was like, what are you doing? You worked out of your house. Why do you need an office? Nothing's changed in your business. Well, I just thought, it'd be more respectable. You make millions of dollars. What are you talking about? Well, of course, you can guess what happened. His profits started going down. He started hemorrhaging money. And he had to go back to his home. Now, nothing wrong with working out of your home. It's great. The problem with him was not working out of his home. The problem with him was what he went out and tried to be fancy and tried to look more respectable. You can't run your business like that. You can't don't go out and get some office space somewhere because you think it's going to make you look like a real business. Who cares if people think you're a real business? Matter of fact, it might be better for you if they don't think you're a real business because they underestimate you. I've gotten great deals from people who underestimated me and just, oh, he's just a reseller. Not knowing anything about my background. I don't tell anybody about my background because it doesn't matter. If they think you got a lot of money, they might mark the price up a lot. So don't worry about that. Just get into your business, work it diligently, get yourself scheduled, stop buying inventory you don't need. And if you do buy new inventory, get it listed within 24 hours or something comparable for you that gets you active and not stacking up more stuff in a corner that you're not going to list. My friend, you can be a great success as a reseller, and I pray this video is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.